Hello, I'm having a pleasant but rather cold afternoon stroll around the city of Lincoln. And as I take the air, I will take you to just a few of the many allegedly haunted locations here in the old part of the city. And what better time than Christmas or Yuletide, the darkest season of the year, to tell ghost stories. Now, before we commence, just take you on a slight detour. Now, I've not been in here for a while. I wonder if... yeah, it's still here. Now, this old Dalek has been knocking around Lincoln for years. I first saw it about 14 years ago. It was in a different shop back then. I just like to come and have a look at it from time to time. It's very old. A bit like myself. Now, where I'm stood at the moment is quite interesting, and I'll tell you why in a moment. In medieval times, when the plague, also known as the Black Death, devastated the population of Europe, such was the death toll that graveyards couldn't cope with the huge amount of burials, so mass graves were dug to cope with the plague victims. In 1347, when the Black Death wiped out nearly half the population of Lincoln, the bodies were piled up and buried, well, they were buried here. I'm literally standing on a medieval plague pit. Now, it is said that on the anniversary of their burial, the unquiet spirits of the unfortunate men, women and children rise from the grave and march in mournful procession to the judgment porch of Lincoln Cathedral. Here they sing for the salvation of their souls in their attempt to end the limbo of being trapped between heaven and hell. These are the ruins of the medieval Bishop's Palace. Built in the 12th century, it was once one of the most important buildings in medieval England. However, it was badly damaged during the English Civil War and then largely abandoned. Now, a ghostly grey lady is said to haunt the old palace. The haunting is thought to be connected to a skull that was found bricked up within the walls. Now, when the skull was removed from the palace, terrible screams could be heard throughout the building, and the screaming didn't stop until the skull was returned and once again buried within the walls. This is Greestone Place, leading to Greestone Stairs, a steep flight of steps said to be one of the most haunted areas of Lincoln. Now, one of the many ghosts of Greestone Stairs is a spectral grey lady that can be seen carrying a baby in her arms. She walks from the entrance of St. Joseph's Convent and lays the baby on the ground. Now, this might be an echo of a tragedy from long ago, for it is said that the baby is dead and she is laying it to rest. This archway above the stairs is said to be haunted by the ghost of a cleric wearing a top hat and a long coat. Now, he has been seen on several occasions over the years. The last time, to my knowledge at least, was back in the late 1980s or early 1990s, when he gave 3 student nurses a bit of a scare. Now, the ghostly cleric is a tragic apparition, for it is said that he hanged himself from the lamp above the arch. Now, orbs have been photographed here, and strange noises have been heard coming from the archway. But by far the strangest apparition to haunt the stairs is the disembodied head of St. Hugh of Lincoln. Now the story goes that after St. Hugh died, his body was cut up and sent to cathedrals around the world. But his head remained in Lincoln Cathedral in a chest that also contained a fortune in gold and gems. Now when word of this got out, one night 2 thieves entered the cathedral and stole the chest, and they ran off with it down Greestone stairs. The chest was heavy, and in haste one of the thieves tripped and fell. They dropped the chest, spilling the gold and the gems, as well as letting the head of St. Hugh roll down Greestone stairs. And since then, the disembodied head of St. Hugh is said to haunt Greestone stairs. It rolls down and has even been known to knock people over. A likely story, you may think, and yes, you'd be correct. In reality, when St. Hugh died in the year 1200, he was buried intact in the northeast transept of Lincoln Cathedral. Incidentally, King John, who was made infamous in the Robin Hood legends, was one of the pallbearers at St. Hugh's funeral. Well, it's getting dark. Before we lose the light, I just want to show you one more thing. This curious structure situated at the rear of the impressive Lincoln Cathedral is Queen Anne's Well, and there's a rather curious legend associated with it. Apparently, if you walk around it 7 times, then place your finger into one of the holes in the door, you'll be judged by the devil. If you are a good person, you will feel the devil's breath on your finger. If you are bad, then your finger will be bitten off. Well, that's about it for this vlog. Now, there's so much history and folklore here in the old part of Lincoln. I haven't even mentioned Lincoln Castle, and there's the cathedral, of course. Now, I'll be doing future vlogs on both of these buildings. Now, as I look around these quiet cobbled streets, it's hard to imagine that this time tomorrow they will be crammed with hundreds of people, because tomorrow is the start of Lincoln's annual Christmas market. It opens on a Thursday night, and that's when I tend to have a look around before it gets insanely busy over the weekend. So I'll come back tomorrow and I'll leave you with some of the sights and sounds at this year's Christmas market. Now, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you join me next time.